I'm Hulk Hogan, the greatest wrestler of all time.
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
A spaceman, huh?
No, actually, I'm a plumber.
New World Order.
Honestly, I can't go anywhere without getting a boner.
How you doing?
I live my life!
Woo!
The Rock says,
Sweet baby Jesus in the office.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to WrestleRock Podcast Season 6. I'm your host, Nostradaben, and I host this episode with my partner, Johnny D.
Hey, as you going today, my friend?
Yeah, fine. And today it's an honor and a privilege. You know what I mean?
Oh, man, that's super awesome. We worked so hard because he is...
He's very busy.
Yes, he is very busy, and that's hard. Very hard to reach him. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we have the pleasure to receive a living legend in our wonderful wrestling industry. He was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2010. He's been a top villain in wrestling for over a decade. He's also managed champion like Bam Bam Bigelow, Sid Vicious, King Kong Bundy, Steve Austin, Kama, name it. He is also a former WWF Tag Team Champion with IRS. Give it up.
Money Inc.
Yes, give it up for the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase.
Hey. What's up, fellas? How are you today?
Yes,
Fine.
we're going super great. And as I said in private, goddamn, that's awesome that you are in front of us for this wonderful interview. So we're going forward with the first question.
The first question?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, Mr. DiBiase, you were trained by the Funk brothers, Dory Funk Jr. and Terry. What kind of coaches were they?
Well, the funny thing about me is I never went to a wrestling school.
Okay.
Back when I got in the business, there was no wrestling school to go to. Basically, if you loved wrestling and you wanted to get into wrestling, a lot of guys would just buddy up to somebody. And back then, in those days, you know, somebody had to like you enough to bring you into the business if they thought that you could. Now, in my case, I was born and raised in professional wrestling. My late father, Iron Mike DiBiase, was very good friends with the Funk family.
Okay.
And I mean, I've known the Funk since I was a little boy. I had actually, when my father died in 1969, had a heart attack in the ring in Lubbock, Texas, when he was working for the Funks.
With our
And so I went and I finished high school in Southern Arizona. And I had actually signed a letter of intent to play football, American football, at the University of Arizona. I turned my TV on one day and there's wrestling. I hadn't seen any wrestling for 3 years. And not only is it wrestling, but it's the Funk's wrestling. It's their show. And they were coming to Tucson. Tucson was about 80 miles from where I lived. Anyway, so I went to see them, and Terry Funk, he said, "Hey, Ted," he says, he says, "if you're going to go to Arizona, that's great, but he says, I could probably get you a recruiting trip to West Texas State, and if for nothing else, just come back and see everybody." And so I took that recruiting trip to West Texas State, and fellas, that's all it took for me, because in my entire life, there's only one thing I ever wanted to do. I wanted to be just like my dad. I wanted to play football, and I wanted to be a wrestler. And so by going to West Texas State, I tell everybody, I said, I didn't go to West Texas State to become a professional football player. I went to West Texas State to become a professional wrestler. Now, listen to the guys that went through West Texas State that became wrestlers. Frank Goodish, which is Bruiser Brody.
Oh, yeah.
Stan Hansen.
Yeah.
Both of the Funks. Tito Santana,
Yeah.
myself, Tully Blanchard, Barry Windham, and I think I'm missing a couple. So, but there was a bunch of guys that went to West Texas State that went on to become pro wrestlers.
Wow. And we remember you were the North American heavyweight champion for the WWF back in the days. But why did you leave the WWF during your first stint in 1979?
When it was just, in wrestling, it's all timing. And, at that time, Vince McMahon Sr. was still the boss. And I was doing very good wrestling, but Vince Jr. was I think about to take over. And actually, the North American Heavyweight Championship that I got in New York, I mentioned to them, I said, listen, I told Vince Sr., I said, Cowboy Bill Watts, and who's in Mid-South.
Yeah, Mid-South Wrestling.
Their champion is the North American Heavyweight Champion as well.
Oh, okay.
And so
that makes sense.
I dropped the North American Heavyweight title to Pat Patterson.
Okay.
Okay. And so they made up a story that Pat Patterson went off to some wrestling tournament in Rio de Janeiro, and everybody puts up their championship belt, and he came back. So what they did is they renamed the belt the Intercontinental.
Okay, he flipped the title. Okay,
the fusion of the titles.
Okay,
yeah, that was the reason for the change in the name, was that he didn't want to step on anybody's toes.
Oh, that's very interesting. So go ahead.
Okay, of course. Who was behind the $1 Million Man gimmick? You or Vince McMahon?
It's a Vince McMahon original.
Okay.
And I've told a lot of people, I think if Vince McMahon could have been a character in his own show, he'd have been me.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I think that's what he would have been. So, and the way the lengths that he went to, and that's just the way Vince was. I think that's how Vince has been so successful. Mm-hmm. If he believes in something, he just goes all out. And he told me, he says, now listen, he says, we're going to try to make the public believe as much as we possibly can that you're really this guy. Mm-hmm. I said, okay, how are you going to do that? And he says, well, you're going to fly everywhere you go, first class. He says, you get to the town, limousine to hotel to Coliseum to hotel, back to airport and out of town. And he also said, he says, you're going to be making enough money. Of course, back then, they didn't pay for everything. But he said, you're going to be making enough money. He said, I don't want you staying at the Dewdrop Inn or the Holiday Inn. He says, I want you to be staying in first class hotels, Hyatt, Marriott, da-da-da-da-da. I said, so, okay, it's a tough job. Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, that was a different era, if you know what I mean. So,
yeah.
And at the Survivor Series 1990, you team up with the great the Hammer Valentine and the Honky Tonk Man against the Dusty Road, Coco Beware, and the Art Foundation. You announce a mystery partner who turned out to be the Undertaker, marking the debut of a significant era. Looking back more than 30 years ago, what is your reaction to the Undertaker's career, and how do you feel as the first person to announce one of the most iconic wrestling legends of all time?
Well, of course, nobody knew at that time. This was a brand new character, untested. And, I just happened to be the guy who Vince picked to introduce him. Yeah. And, but I don't think anybody had any idea how iconic that the Undertaker was going to become.
Yeah.
And he did. He just blew it out of the water. And I just was fortunate to have been the man handpicked to introduce him to the wrestling world.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, during nearly 10 years, Virgil was your bodyguard, and we remember many vignettes, promos, and feuds with him. Why did you and Virgil never reunite after that?
Well, it just, everything changes, and we were at that time when I was physically wrestling. Okay, and so I was gonna. I mean, Virgil was like, he was like the valet, the bodyguard. I mean, you couldn't get away with that today. But that's what he was. That was what he was hired for, to open the doors and do all that stuff in public. And Virgil's real name is Mike, and he's a good guy, and I've known him for years. But when I stopped actively wrestling, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then there was no more need for it.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Yeah, I understand.
There was no more need for it. But I think I do remember that. I started doing commentary for the WWF, and then that's when guys started leaving the WWF and going over to what was the other? What was
the
WC? Yeah, they were going over to WCW. Hogan went, and this guy went, and that guy went. And hindsight being 2020, I probably would have been better off if I'd have just stayed where I was.
Yeah.
But it was the first opportunity to get a contract that actually had an amount on it.
Mm-hmm.
Those first contracts that we all signed with Vince, there was no money amount. You were not guaranteed any amount of money, and again, that's because he was the only game in town. So now there's competition, and it is what it is. And I had a guaranteed contract for 3 years. And the first year was so much money. The next year was so much more money. And the last year was even more than that. And they couldn't cut me. Even if they didn't want to use me, all they could do is send me home and simply keep sending the checks. So that's why I went.
Okay. And about money, everybody's got a prize for the $1 Million Man is an important cash phrase throughout your entire career, of course. We remember you purchased the WWF World Heavyweight Championship from André the Giant after André defeated Hulk Hogan. What that the first plan, or were others option considered?
Well, that was the whole idea. The whole idea was that, that was done on Saturday Night Main Event. And that's the first time that professional wrestling was on live network television since the 1950s.
Okay.
And it was, it was a big deal. And so, Andre, beats Hulk, and of course I don't know where that extra referee came from. But anyway, and then that's because I was boasting that I could buy anything, including the world title. And so Andre wins, and he takes the belt. Instead of putting it on, he puts it around my waist. And once again, I've proven that I can buy anything. So, and then the WWE, of course, they go, you can't do that. And so here was the dilemma. I said they can't give it back to Hogan because technically Hogan lost. Mm-hmm. They can't, give it back to Andre because Andre won't take it. He's been paid off. And they can't give it to me because I didn't really win it. So what do? You have a tournament to declare a new champion. And the tournament was WrestleMania 4.
Yeah.
Trump Plaza.
Yes, in Trump Plaza. That was totally a good idea. That's a genius idea, because how you can push a villain with 2 top characters in the main roster. It is what it is. That's awesome.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yes. Yes. Go.
Okay, after that, you made the decision to create your own wrestling belt, the $1 Million Championship, and there were rumors surrounding its creation. Do you have any idea what kind of materials were used for the title? Some people said it was made of diamond, 24 karat gold, and ruby.
Okay, the $1 Million belt, and hold on one second.
Okay. No problem. Awesome. That's the original,
Okay. No, this is a replica.
Okay, this is a replica.
This is a replica.
Okay.
Real belt.
Wow.
The original is at the Hall of Fame.
The real belt is, if they ever actually have a Hall of Fame,
Okay.
will be displayed there. But the real belt, 1988, when it was made, it was worth $40,000.
Oh, God.
And I had to carry a declaration page. Like anytime I came into Canada, back and forth, I had to declare its value.
Wow.
And all the stones in the belt were what you call cubic zirconium.
Okay.
And so I didn't know what that was. I asked my wife. She says it's almost a diamond.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so there were 700 of those in the face of the belt.
Wow.
And at that time, that was like about $50 a piece times 700. That's 35 grand right there. Man. And the rib, the joke is on the back of the belt, on the back of the original belt that nobody could see, right at the top were 3 diamonds, real diamonds.
Oh,
and I when I first looked at that, I said, "What is that?" And they goes, "Well, Ted, those are real diamonds." I said, "Why? Nobody's going to see them." And they said, "Well, if anybody ever asks you, are the diamonds in the belt real? You can say yes, and you won't be lying."
You want the best, you got the best. Awesome. You won the WWF Tag Team titles with IRS, of course, but we also remember that you won the AGPW Triple Crown Championship with none other than Stan the Lariat Hansen. For you, which accomplishment is the most significant between these two accomplishments?
Oh gosh, well, what was the first one? What was the first one? The what?
The first one was your tag team title with IRS, of course.
All right. Well, of course, that was obviously that was tremendous. And IRS, Mike's his real name. He's a great guy, and we gelled very well together, and that was very very important to me. But then the thing with Stan Hansen, I became like what's that? A world tag team champion with Stan Hansen in Japan.
Yeah,
and there's a big difference.
No, this is very
there's a big difference. I mean, I guess the one obviously that would be most recognized was the one with the IRS, because obviously it's the WWE and it's worldwide now. But Stan Hansen again was one of those guys. He's another one of those guys that went to West Texas State and played football, and then went on to become a wrestler. And so that was, I would say, it was a toss up. It was equally important for me personally, anyway.
Wow. Okay. After your prestigious wrestling career, you managed many important wrestlers, like we said earlier in the interview. You started the wrestling careers of the Undertaker and Steve Austin,
yes.
The ringmaster. Can you consider that when you work with pro wrestler, they became true legends?
I'm sorry, when I worked with who?
Can you consider that when you work with pro wrestler, they become true legends? Because we're talking about you started the careers of the Undertaker and
Steve Austin.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Well, I mean, no, I don't think I had anything to contribute to their success. I mean, in the wrestling business, we call it the rub. It was kind of like, when somebody comes along and you've got big plans for them, oftentimes to give them a kickstart, they'll put them with somebody that's already highly established. And that would have been me in both cases. But as far as what I would have had to done with their careers, was minimal. I was just there to help them get going.
That's a humble answer, but that's a perfect answer. But as you said, if you don't kick your own ass, you can do your own thing. So it is what it is. Of all the WrestleMania events you participate in, which one of your top was your favorite?
I'll be honest with you. I think the one that I enjoyed the most was WrestleMania 6.
Okay, against Nick Roberts.
I wrestled Jake the Snake.
Okay.
Toronto Sky.
And we had a great match.
Yeah.
Jake and I are, we have a lot in common. We're both, we both were raised in the business. His father was a wrestler and a promoter, and my father was a wrestler.
Yeah.
And another family that we could put in there is the Hart family. I can't remember where it was, but we were doing a TV shoot, and they had me and Bret Hart go out and have about a 20-minute match to a draw. And so when that's the first time and the only time that Bret and I ever got to wrestle each other. Okay. And so when we came out of the ring and we got in the back, so you remember Pat Patterson was like Vince's right-hand man. And of course, Pat himself was a very good champion and wrestler in his own career. And he went crazy. He says, "Oh my gosh, what a match." He says, "You guys have been working a lot together." And we looked at each other and we said, "Pat, that's the first time we ever touched." And he couldn't believe it. That was the first time that we'd ever had a match. But the reason I think that we gelled so well is because of our background. Okay. Because we both came up and were raised in a different era. Mm-hmm. And again, by, I don't know. It's hard to explain. Even today, people say, "Well, who's your favorite today?" I said, "I'll be honest with you, I don't watch it anymore. It's hard for me to watch wrestling now because,
it's totally different.
Oh, it's not the same thing.
I love I love a good movie, right?
Yeah.
But tell me a good story. If the movie tells me a good story, man, I get into it. Mm-hmm. But if it's just a bunch of boom, boom, bang, bang, you know what? Yeah, forget it. Well, that's what's happened to wrestling.
No, that's the same thing.
A lot of boom, boom, bang, bang, and tell me a good story. I'm still waiting.
Yes, sir. For our pre-closing segment, I'll give you a name in a few words. Tell us something about them, all right? So the first one is Sid Vicious.
A unique individual.
Yeah.
He had a lot of talent, and he was accused of being very short-tempered, but I never had any problem with Sid. So, Sid's okay in my book.
The second one, the late Bray Wyatt.
Bray Wyatt, oh my gosh. You talk about a kid who he had it. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like I could look at guys today and, I tell you can teach kids everything. Yeah. But the one thing you can't teach anybody is what we call charisma. Yeah. You either have it or you don't. And Bray Wyatt, he had it.
Yes, he was a creative genius.
Yes, he really was.
And the last one, Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, yourself.
Well, of course, I'm the greatest of all time.
That's good.
So thank you so much for the interview. For the ending segment, as usual, my partner, Benoit, Nostradaben. It's all about the French prophet, because in Europe, there was a guy named Nostradamus, and that's why he has his nickname, and he will try to predict the future of our guests. Go ahead, my friend.
First of all, Mr. DiBiase, thank you so much for the interview. It was an honor, a pleasure. You were my favorite heel wrestler when I was young.
Well,
Okay,
thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. My prediction is you're going to be a two-time WWE Hall of Fame inducted. You and IRS as Money Inc., or maybe as a manager.
Well, who knows? Yeah, and I guess I hope you're right. and hey guys, and again, it's been a pleasure coming on your show. I've been in and out of Canada so many times, and I had not been to Canada for a long time. Just last week,
Yeah, I know that.
I flew into Montreal,
Yeah.
and went to the event that was in Ottawa.
Yeah.
And I had a good time. I met a lot of the fans, and but man, it was just a quick trip. I was over there, and then I was gone. So I didn't even have time to go out to a good French style restaurant and have a good meal. So
Yes, the smoked meat is
Montreal
awesome.
smoked
The Montreal
Right,
smoked meat is
exactly.
awesome.
you said it. That's what I was thinking.
Thank you so much for the interview, my friend.